And we're now joined by the man who had his hand raised, UFC 305, Dan Hooker. And Dan, we're sitting there watching it at home saying, the Hangman's a madman, he's done it again. And you're just sitting there soaking it in, telling your corner you love this. I'm curious about the days after a fight like that, man. How long does it take for you to come down from that high?
Oh, pretty quick. Pretty quick. I'm already over it, Bubba. It's time to get back to work.
Well, coming into this fight, it was a 13-month layoff. It was one of the longest layoffs of your career. What were the emotions like kind of leading into the walkout, get your hand raised, your name called by Bruce, in between the rounds, you could tell you were fired up. Like, how was that processing all of that, knowing that this is what you love to do and you haven't been able to do it for so long?
No, it was just cool to get back to work, man. It's just, a long time on the sidelines, a long time without that energy of the crowd and stuff like that. So to get back in front of 15,000 people just screaming out for blood is cool. It wakes me up. It gets me out of bed in the morning.
Well, I mean, it's what we've come to expect from you. I think you're up to like a half dozen post-fight bonuses in the UFC. But as far as the game plan itself, how closely did what we see in Perth reflect the game plan that you had coming in?
I thought the fight could go one or two ways. I hopped out of the cage and I hopped out of the cage and I saw my striking coach sitting down there. He was just kind of looking at me, shaking his head, and I agreed with him. First thing I said to him was, I said, not bad for an off night. I was like, not bad for an off night. It was kind of like, that kind of chilled him out a little bit. He was like, all right, he agreed with that. He was like, not bad for an off night. So I think in terms of how I thought the fight would play out, that's like, that was kind of edging the worst case scenario side of things.
Was there anything that kind of surprised you about Gamrot when you got in there with him?
No, the wrestling was pretty much where I thought the wrestling would be. He's just very hard to hit. Like he's always backing up and kind of just using arm punches and stuff like that. So he was it was very hard to get him to engage. Like after I scrambled up the first time and he kind of sat down on a couple punches but then I clipped him with a left hook. And then after that, I think he was just like, oh, I don't really want to get in a firefight with this kid. So then he just spent a lot of the time just moving backwards.
And that's not the first time. It was something of a city kickboxing showcase on a pay-per-view. This time, though, back to back to back. What was it like for you and the boys to go in quick succession Sunday morning, balancing that out with the coaches, all very significant fights for your careers?
I don't know, mate. They kicked me out after after my fight. They gave me the boot. I got out back. And everyone was just refusing to give me a beer. And I tried to stay. I heard Kai's walkout music playing, and then I started storming out towards the arena. I was like, nah, I'm gonna go watch Kai's fight. Lucky my coach Carl Weber was there, and he's one of the very few people on the face of the planet that I actually listen to. And he was yelling out, Dan, get over here. Get in the ambulance. We got to leave. So I had to listen to Carl. He kind of cuts through. And I am scared of that man. So I hopped in the ambulance, but I didn't see. I haven't seen Kai or Israel's fight.
Well, I want to go back to your fight. The second half of the fight, you kind of started attacking with the guillotine every time he shot in on you. Was that the game plan, or was that kind of something that you kind of adjusted and just started working when you were in there?
It's Hangman, Bubba. I got a few. That's just one of my moves. I got a few guillotine finishes on my resume. Well, I stuffed the first one with it, and then that was tight, and I could feel him panic a bit from that first attempt. And then I think he just had it in his head after that, because every time I kind of even went for it after that, he didn't want to fire of it, and he kind of just bailed out on his takedown attempts. So, yeah, that's just the way it is. You put your head on the left, I'm going to guillotine you. You put your head on the right, and I'm going to knee you in the face.
Hey, Dan, Megan touched on it. This was your longest layoff of your career, and by far the longest. 2010, I think you had a comparable one-year layoff very early in your pro career. Luke Thomas put you in the top 5 of the UFC with your tattoo game. I know you spent some time in a couple artist chairs. Megan also in the top 5 of those rankings, by the way. Congrats, Megan. Aside from that, where do you feel, Dan, that you evolved the most during this time away from competing over the last 13 months?
I'd say I just like appreciate my team and my coaches a lot more than I did like before. Because I had the bad string during COVID. It was just obviously very difficult as an international fighter competing during COVID, especially in New Zealand, where we had some of the harshest lockdowns in the world. And you just could see in those fights, in those fights, I was doing it without my coaches and without my team. So I guess when I just came back, it's like a new, just a greater appreciation for the role that those guys play in my career.
Well, you're on a 3-fight win streak now, the first time since 2019, 2020, when you beat James Vick, Paul Felden, Al Iaquinta. How important is it for you right now that you've just jumped to number 5 in the division to be smart about picking who your next fight is going to be?
Well, I kind of have learned that from my first rodeo, right? Is to just kind of not do anything dumb this time round. I mean, the last time I was number 5, I agreed to fight Michael Chandler, fresh out of gave Michael Chandler a shot. It was his first fight in the UFC. I flew to Abu Dhabi, so other side of the world, with absolutely no coaches, and went and fought him with a guy I'd been training for 6 months in my corner. So it was not the smartest of decisions. So I guess this time round, I'm just not going to do anything dumb or sell my title shot again.
Well, Dan, our last question to you, being strategic about who is next. In a dream world for you, what is an ideal turnaround time, whoever the opponent is, for you to get back in the octagon?
Well, I was actually halfway through the after party, and we bumped into Hunter Campbell in the lobby of the hotel, and I had a bit of Dutch courage in me, and he asked me who I want to fight, and I said I'll smash any of the dogs, and he said, no, but who do you want to fight? And I said, mate, I'll fight Arman because he's a scumbag for absolutely nothing. I said I'll fight him for free. Lucky my manager was there, and he cut in and he explained, this is why you have a manager, Dan. But so I'll let them pick. I'll let them pick, because me, I just like to fight. So I'll leave it up to them. But definitely this year, I'd like to. Someone said something about December, and I'm on board with that.
We only have 2 events in December, so it's a short list. But Dan, whenever it is, you're appointment viewing man. You make the sport a joy to watch. Congratulations on the win, on the winning streak, and we look forward to see what's next. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.